tournament rules actually ended up working out really well here. We ended up with kind of an even number, and I think it was five. There were 10 people at 4-2, and there were 5 open spots, so it worked out well.
Yeah, no, and I think how it works is, I mean, potentially a 5-1 has to play a 4-2 if you have an uneven number.
Yeah, that did not happen here, fortunately. So yeah.
Right, and we had a great diverse field, and we had a 4-2 Tarkin Blue deck. Well, first off, tell us about your deck. Tell us about the Boba Green.
Yeah, like if you've seen the Boba Green deck, this is going to look a lot like the other ones you've seen. So this is a little geared more towards aggro out of the gate. I was expecting a little more Sabine than the tournament saw, so a couple of main deck Consortium Star Vipers, I think 2 of those, and then Viper Probe Droids instead of Seasoned Shore Troopers. And then I think another thing is I'm running 2 Traders, 2 Bosk. The 2 Bosk might be a little controversial versus the standard deck, but a lot of 5-drops in the deck, so took one of those out. So.
Right, and we have a Tarkin deck here, a Tarkin Blue deck, which is kind of cool to me. I think it's probably a deck that's pretty weak to Traders, thinking it through, but we'll see if that comes into play. But it's got good stuff. I mean, he's got ramp, he's running 2 Gideon Hass, he's got some Royal Guards, he's got enough officials, I think, to turn him on. Playing a couple of regional governors, loaded up on Seasoned Shore Troopers, Scout Pike Pursuers, and then he has Super Laser Technicians, 3 Overwhelming Barrage, which is probably the best removal in the game. Darth Vader unit going all the way up to some Devastators, which are a pretty tough card to answer. So
yeah, I'm gonna try to make sure he doesn't get to 10. I'm guessing. So.
Or if he does, then you have a change of heart.
That is true. Although I don't even, these were not open deck lists, so I don't, you kind of assume they're probably running one of the big ships, but you don't really know.
Yeah, and for somebody who's played a couple hundred games, and I know that you'd played hundreds of games before release because I was playing them with you,
right?
Along, but a deck that's like a Tarkin Blue. I mean, you're sitting here at this phase in the tournament, really wanting to win and wondering what the heck is in the deck.
Yeah, you don't know. And the other thing is, like, you just don't have experience playing against these decks. These are not like, standard quote unquote meta decks, and like those can wreck you because you don't know what's in there and you don't know the play lines, right? So I think it can, if you like a deck like this, take it to a tournament because you're going to catch people off guard. I think a lot of the time. So have at it.
Yeah, we had an Inquisitor go 6-0 in Swiss, and he's probably having a beverage here and watching the action as all of these people are sweating to get into the top 8.
That's right.
All right. Let's get to the match. All right. It looks like Tarkin, the Grand Moff, has initiative.
I don't think I mulligan, so I'm guessing I have ramp. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't mulligan
this
deck.
I see a Super Laser Tech in Tarkin's hand. I see a Cell Block Guard that he resourced. He plays Regional Governor. I wonder what he calls.
I'm guessing either Resupplier or Super Laser Tech.
Yeah. All right. Tarkin's still on the initiative. Yeah, against Boba Green, if it's turn 1, because I play blue red in both villain and hero. I mean, usually my call is turn 1, Super Laser Technician. Anything after turn 1, Overwhelming Barrage.
Yeah, absolutely. Fire Spray may be late, depending on...
Fire Spray may be late, depending on board state, right? Because
absolutely.
if I have their board clear, I'm less concerned about Barrage, because the best way to stop it is to not let them get a unit.
Yep. So against Tarkin decks in general, like, I'm going to be watching to make sure that he can't just pile a bunch of XP on a character if I don't have Waylay in hand, because that can get out of control fast. So usually I'm looking to keep Waylays if I see them. And then if like if he's starting to stack XP, you gotta kind of take care of that unit if you don't have an answer.
Waylay is a 3-cost yellow event, which bounces a card to hand. I mean, I imagine if you had it there on the third turn, you would have waylaid the super laser tech.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong move.
Right. So he does get a Royal Guard out, which has Sentinel because of the regional governor.
Yep.
Tarkin himself is also an official when he comes out.
Yes.
Like Palpatine.
So I'm not sure what I have in my hand. If I have a super laser tech, I would probably look to ambush him in and then finish him off with the Viper
Probe Droid.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Right. Hoping that the regional gov attacks and that you can then eliminate it.
Right.
Assuming he didn't bar super laser tech.
That's the thing. I may not be able to play it right now.
Yeah.
I ambushed Greedo in. Okay, and I'm trying to, and I got lucky.
Sure did. So that's actually Greedo does his thing.
Yep. 1 in 3 times, it works every time. Now I'm in a much better position because I got lucky there. So.
Super laser tech kills the probe droid, which is a good reason not to run probe droids against filling green.
Yep.
Yeah, I would, if I was sitting across the table from this Tarkin dead, I would presume that I'd run my kind of anti-Iden strategy against it. And looking at the list, that's probably a good call. One thing that's great about Star Wars Unlimited is the leader doesn't make the deck. The leader is one of 52 relevant cards usually.
Yeah, it's an enabler of certain strategies, but like you can just kind of tune different leader. You kind of tune a deck with a different leader.
Yep. And what you see here happen to the regional governor is Tarkin's leader ability allows experience to be given to an Imperial unit. So that's what that green dice signifies on her.
So
she's actually a 2/5 now.
Yeah, so she's a 2/5. I got an annoying Royal Guard out there to deal with. On the flip turn, Boba will be able to take it out. But
I don't think that Boba Fett gets to complain about annoying. The Boba Fett unit. We have and I think I mentioned this earlier in the commentary. We've decided that the design strategy for units Boba Fett related, including the fire spray, is you make a fun, fair, balanced card, and then you subtract a cost and add a health, and then you get your final unit.
Seems about right. Yeah.
Oh, and then
that's super
barrage on the Boba unit.
Yep. Then I'll be able to swing into the governor and take her out.
Yep.
If I decide to go that route, or I might just go face.
Yeah. So interestingly, the Boba unit can kill the governor. The Boba leader can't under this scenario.
Right.
So playing against, I mean, you're a very good Boba green player, Boba general player. I've seen you play mono too. What is your game plan against villain blue-green control?
So against most decks, like if you're against Sabine or Leia or another kind of weird aggro deck, like you got to play control. But usually, Boba's a little bit just point and shoot. You try to mulligan for your ramp. You try to get a really good flip turn on the 5 resource turn and play out a bunch of stuff, and then you hope you draw fire spray. Like you're trying to just create a lot of problems on the board that your opponent just can't answer all of them, right? And then you can get to 25 pretty fast. I think playing 30 health bases against Boba is pretty good because there's a big difference between 25 and 30.
Yep.
Boba just doesn't have as big a top end as some other decks. But at 25, like if I draw like this, where I have a bunch of 3 drops, I have an overwhelming barrage. It's just it's too much.
So actually, I think we learned in the prior match that the store owner BK is friends with the guy that originally wrote the "Who's the Beatdown, Who's the Control" article. So
oh yeah,
that I learned.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think Boba's clearly the beatdown in this matchup, right?
He's in a lot of matchups. But yeah, it's like the way I approach most of these, especially if I'm not familiar with the deck, right, is I just assume I'm the beatdown in a deck like this. And then if I'm proven wrong, then I have to change it up, right? But
right.
and against any sort of any sort of green villain deck, especially like a Tarkin deck that's running ramp, like you have to assume that if the round gets to like 8, 9, 10 resources, you might be in trouble because they might just have playing Devastators, Avengers, and Blue or Relentlesses.
So he is at 21 damage with you showing 7 on the board. Vader's not going to be enough here.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to turn it fast enough because that 7th fleet's pretty safe.
Now, does he have Snowtrooper Lieutenants? I mean, that puts Boba Leader in range of death.
Yep, because that Seasoned Short Trooper is at 4 attack now, right?
Doesn't look like it.
I guess it only put 6 on Boba, so.
Well, I mean, Vader could ambush the Boba Leader, which means he has to, so anything that could send a unit and pull. And sorry, he throws up an Inferno 4 and a TIE Fighter, but he's dead on the next action because he can't kill the Boba unit, Boba Leader.
Yeah. Right.
A lot of blue decks. I'll say blue decks generally because I found it effective in Turret in my testing so far this week because we're thinking about this now. But I think Vigilance is such a strong card against Boba Fett because his units have shields, but most of them have low health.
Yep.
So a lot of people are playing Vigilance out of Aspect because it's good into the 2 of the best decks, which are Boba Knighted.
Yeah, I agree. Like there's a couple things like that 5 health heal on Vigilance. Like again, like Boba wants to go fast in a lot of these matches, and if you can control him and get to your 8, 9, 10 resource turn as a control deck, like he starts having problems putting damage on the board. So that 5 health is really relevant. You pair that with a 30 health base plus a deck like Iden or something like that, right? It can heal. It gets tough.
Well, in my experience, I want to play because I think that Boba is favored into Turret Red, which is a deck I love. I mean, I tend to like Force decks. But I mean, if you can control the Boba turn and not get killed by a fire spray, I mean, Boba can't complete even with Vader. I don't think he can compete with Turret's top end with the Luke Skywalker Jedi Knights.
Well, are you playing Redemption in that deck as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's those decks scare me when I'm playing into them because it's just like if you get to Luke and you get to Redemption, like Boba doesn't always have, like he's got to draw really well at that point, I think, to have the answers. Otherwise, that game's under control for the most part. And to your point, sure, its top end's better than Boba's.
Right.
So
now that's one of the matchups for Boba Yellow. I think is significantly better than Boba Green into Turret.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Because of
Boba
Yellow has so much bounce, which is the weakness of all of those hero blue decks.
It is. Boba Yellow is also like Boba Yellow's an aggro attack. Like it's a little below mid. It's it's an aggro mid range, right? But it can get under the Chirrut matchup. I think you're right. It's the bounce there that does it. But like the Boba Yellow deck can get under things like Iden a little better than the green one can, just because it can go a little bit faster because its cunning's out the right way and things like that.
I think Boba Yellow is better into both Iden and Sabine than Boba Green is.
I completely agree.
But and people don't understand that because it has such a bad matchup into Boba Green. I mean, that's what's gatekeeping it out of being to the top 3 decks. I mean, we do think it's one of the top 6 decks. My teammate Poem. I mean, if you don't think Boba Yellow is competitively viable, find that guy and play a couple of games or 10.
He is great on that deck. I think to your point, like I think Boba Yellow is better into most tier A, tier B meta decks except for Boba Green.
Right.
Like that match is just so hard. That's like it's like 70-30 or something like that, right? Probably it's tough.
I think Vader has play into Boba Yellow too, but that's it.
He does, but I'd rather be Yellow against Vader than I would Green on Boba deck. I think
we can figure that out sometime.
Yeah, we'll play those out and see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how the meta develops with regards to, if Iden can get Boba under control, then what happens with Palp? Can Palp get Iden? It's like you might see some cycling away from Boba if enough decks kind of can control him.
Or aggro.
Yeah. Yeah, aggro, like, the Sabine matchup with Green Boba, that's not an auto win for Boba by any means. Like, that's a really tight match. It's maybe slightly favored, but it's not.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of things going on with that kind of perception in the community right now. But if you think that Sabine, there's multiple ways to build Sabine that are similar. I mean, Sabine Yellow and Sabine Green. I think I prefer Sabine Green into the field, but not by a lot. Sabine Red can go all of them. I mean, she can do guaranteed damage as the leader ability. She deploys on 4, and if you don't think that can beat top decks, you got to find some better Sabine players.
Yeah,
because if you sequence correct, it's not any easier playing at a top tier level than any other deck because there's a lot of decision points in Star Wars Unlimited.
Yep.
But aggro is pretty well balanced, I think.
Yeah, it's the reach cards in aggro are very good, and I think they're probably appropriately good right now. It seems like where they kind of need those tools to compete, and it's frustrating to play against an aggro deck that's using them. But you got to have good aggro in the meta, right? So.
Right. All right, so this match, I think we're on the 5 resource turn now, and it's 2/2 damage in each base. We have a Del Miko, which is a cool blue unit. It's a 3/3 that makes events cost more. And then we have a seasoned short trooper, the Beach Boy, on the Tarkin side.
Yes, I'm pretty sure in this match, if I had a resupply in my hand, I couldn't play him because Del Miko was out because I screwed up the sequencing, which you'll see me do again later. I make the same mistake, I think, in a different match. So I think I've got it. I was trying to figure out a way to get my resupply out.
And here, against this Tarkin deck, I think Del Miko is a card I would expect to see.
Yeah, agreed.
At least sometimes. In blue villain control.
Yep. Yeah, especially if you can pump me. He's a 4/4 now too. Like it gets good.
And he gives Del Miko a shield, which is a good play.
Yep.
And excuse me, this is the 4 resource turn. His hand confused me before. Yes. So the number 1 rule of rare bases is if you are doing that, make sure to use it. Yeah. I mean, if you've ended the game and you haven't used your ECL, that was a waste of 5 health.
Yep.
Same with Security Complex. All right. The Beach Boy takes out Boba unit. Players are going to go to 5 resources at the same turn. Boba is ahead 7-2 on base damage.
Yeah, but the Tarkin player is in okay shape right now. Like, Boba didn't ramp.
Except for the barrage that's about. Oh, nope, it's a boss.
Oh no, I was able to boss it. Yeah, that was fortunate. That was the right card to draw there, or the right card to have in hand.
Right. Cell block guard. I imagine he's going to meet Mr. Fett eventually.
Yep, likely.
All right, a Scout Bike Pursuer hits the field. Cool card. It's a 1/4 Imperial Trooper with grit. Kind of looks like he's riding a pair of rollerblades. All right, Boba takes out the cell block guard, readying 2 resources because he's Boba Fett. That's what he do.
Yep,
Tarkin's going to finish off Bosk, I hope. Sure does.
Makes sense. You don't want to let Bosk sit out there in case I've got an event in hand.
Which Boba almost always has an event in hand.
Usually does, yeah. Again, I'm the aggro here, so I'm not worried about taking out the Scout Break Pursuer or Tarkin. I'm just going to go face.
Yeah, well, hitting a Smoke Guide Pursuer is a good way to lose games.
Yeah, that's right.
If you want to get hit back for harder. All right. So Tarkin's doing okay on board state, but behind quite a bit of damage, and going to a turn that could be Fire Spray.
Yeah, I mean, I'm close to full here, I think, right? Because I've got to do 13.
Yeah.
I've got 6, 9 on board. Surprise Strike, Shoot First. That's sort of, I'm not playing Shoot First in this, I don't think. But there's Barrage. That's good for him.
Yeah. Though, maybe Tarkin himself has 2 attack before the Barrage. This is kind of underwhelming. He had to do it there.
Yeah.
If you have, well, you have Barrage yourself.
Attack. Yeah.
So that's going to. Now, do you have to assign all the damage for Barrage?
So I think I'm pretty sure I could assign I could just assign you can assign 5 to one. If someone's got 1 health left, you can assign 5 to it, right?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's right.
I'm guessing 4 to face here. Yeah.
All right, and then the 7 Fleet hits it for 5.
Yep. So he's on 19. I don't have lethal showing.
Yeah, and very difficult unit to remove that 7 Fleet Defender.
Yep. And if I've got a Surprise Strike, he's got initiative, right? Yeah, so he can maybe try to take out that 7 Fleet, but otherwise Surprise Strike would be.
He did, I think, carry some Making Openings.
Oh, that'll do it too. That's a very good card against Boba, obviously.
Right. Yeah, well. Either Fire Spray or Surprise Strike, and you've won the game.
Yeah. Looks like Vader.
Killing Tarkin.
Yeah.
That's in a way that's what happened, isn't it?
It's
Vader couldn't shoot down his son. Tarkin got blowed up.
Tarkin was overconfident in his battle station.
I thought that was Ozzel.
He was overconfident in a different way, I guess.
I think he's actually his text reads overconfident. You're gonna kill Boba Fett unit here, right?
Would think I would. Yeah. Always watching these back, it's like you hope you did that because that's clearly the right play watching it back, but in the moment sometimes you make mistakes. So.
Right. Oh, and the players here. I mean, we're doing some commentary here. We're trying to provide some value to people, but I know better than anybody playing every Saturday night on the stream and having expert players correct me all the time. I mean, first off, that's how you get better. And second off, it's real easy for us to sit here in our living rooms commentating this game.
Yeah.
Now with no pressure. Less so when you're, on the feature table under the lights at a big tournament for quite a bit of money. So, all right, Tarkin concedes, having no answer to control both a 7 Fleet Defender and Darth Vader, which I don't even know what would exist that would do that other than Super Laser Blast.
Super Laser Blast, that's about it, I think. Yep.
Right, but all right. Well, what were your thoughts of that match?
So yeah, I think Boba's just a really rough deck for a lot of off meta decks. I think that's why he's good and a lot of people want to play him. So again, when I'm sitting across from a deck like that, I'm looking out for things that maybe might get me, but it's usually just play smart, go face, try to ramp, and it's like he just gets easy wins. Which in a tournament that's going 10 rounds, you're going to be playing for 10 or 11 hours. You want some of those. I know Boo was actually saying this again, like he had it right. He had a kind of thing on tournament prep, like he did the same thing. It's just you don't have to think a lot with that Boba deck, which is helpful, frankly, when you're playing for a long time. So
right,
like Tarkin, I think Tarkin's a fun deck. You got to make sure you can't just stack experience on something, but a yellow deck is just not going to be that worried about it because it's got outs to it. So.
Right. All right, so we have the top 8 starting. We'll release the first video of that tomorrow. We have a Boba Fett green, a Grand Inquisitor blue on Capital City. We have Iden Versio making the top 8 with Energy Conversion Lab. We have 2 Darth Vaders on Energy Conversion Lab, one of which is Force Base, one of which is a more traditional build. We have a Han Solo on a green Echo base that made a top cup, beating 4 Boba Fett's, by the way.
That deck's good.
It sure is. And Sabine Wren with Energy Conversion Lab as the sole aggro pair to make the top. All right, so check it out tomorrow as we get to the coverage of the quarterfinals. All right, if you've watched this far, you're my hero. Signing off.